My name is Jose Suarez. I'm the director of the neurocritical care unit at the Johns Hopkins Hospital. We're celebrating our 40th anniversary. Congratulations, everyone. We're really excited about this big turnout, and everybody seems to be enjoying having a great weekend here in Baltimore. I will hopefully wait in for 40 more years of celebrations. Hopefully 2062 we'll be here. We'll be back here. Hopefully I'm still alive to be here to tell you, to welcome you again to the 80th anniversary of the NCCU. So we've heard great news today from everyone. So we've known already everything that we've accomplished in the past 40 years. We've trained 112 fellows, and we hope to continue training the future of neurocritical care. The future is bright. The future looks great. We're really, really happy. We're really excited. Congratulations again, everyone. Thank you.
All right, I'm John Lewin. I'm a neurocritical care pharmacist. I was the first full-time neurocritical care pharmacist starting in 2004. Served as the director for the critical care and surgery pharmacy division. And now I'm chief medical officer for a company called On Demand Pharmaceuticals.
So I'm Jeff Lane. I'm a graduate of the NCCU fellowship back in '95, and I am the military guy. I was the first guy to come over out of the military, did the fellowship, and went back into the military. And one thing I would say is the NCCU training trained me well, because I went to Iraq, I went to Afghanistan 6 times, and NCCU training trained me well so that I could do my job downrange.
One of the fond memories I have working with Jeff is a day where Jeff came in on a Tuesday. All the fellows left for conference, and Jeff is one of the most efficient rounders I've ever met. And Jeff said, "I got a lot to do today, John. Let's go do rounds by ourselves." So we went through all 24 patients. Jeff went in, did a neuro exam, came out. We talked about the plan. I wrote all the medication orders, and we went through the whole unit in 1 hour. And by the time the fellows got back, we said, "Rounds are done."
Right. That's the way it should be. Because when you're rounding, you're not working, as the saying goes. Another thing is that always, how far can you push the limit? And John and I would always talk about how we can make things better. And so what we figured out was this whole concept of how we decided that it seems silly to buy medicines. Why don't we make them ourselves? So John and I went out afterwards and we started a company called On Demand Pharmaceuticals, where he's now the chief medical officer, and I was recently the chief executive officer, the CEO, and the two of us did, in fact, do exactly that. We started a company. So look what comes from being at the NCCU. Takes you places you never think you'd go.
Yep. Cheers.
Cheers.
Hi, I'm Renita Somerville.
And I am Sharita Johnson.
And I worked in the NCCU for about 13 years. I worked in NCCU when it was Meyer 7, and then also when we moved to Zayed 3 West. And I was social worker, and Sharita was...
I came along in 2015. I was a clinical customer service coordinator. I was there for about 5 years, I think, 4 or 5 years. And Renita and I worked really closely together. We had a lot of sad moments for families, not for us, but we worked together really well.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of sad moments. But for the most part, just our unity, the unity of the staff, the unity of the nurses. Gail and Dina were our nurse managers at the time. And I think that was a time I'll never forget. And neuro has always been my favorite discipline ever since.
Yeah, and we had lots of connections, lots of family meetings with our doctors. Dr. Mursky, Dr. Nyquist, Dr. Suarez. I don't want to leave anyone out, but I know I am. The residents, the fellows, the nurses, all working hand in hand for our patients and our families. So this is a great event, and we're very happy to be here.
Happy 40th, NCCU. Thank you.
I'm Dan Hanley. I was lucky enough to work with Steve Lauer and Cecil Burrell. And it's wonderful to see how many great professionals have come out of our efforts to take care of neurocritical care patients. I'm happy that 40 years later, there are hundreds of people doing what we were doing then.
I'm Isam Awad. I am a collaborator. I am not a part of the Hopkins NCCU except through working with Dan Hanley over more than 20 years. I learned so much from this group. I've admired this group, and I think it's been amazing. And this celebration is something that everybody should emulate. Congratulations and happy anniversary.
My name is Hazel Calvin. I started my career in neurosciences in 1989, so that's a couple of moons ago. And I've worked with some awesome, coworkers, doctors, nurses, clin-techs, respiratory therapists. It's been a great experience, and I will cherish the moments. I would not. I'm here like over 33 years now, and I've been truly blessed, I would say, and I would not want to work anywhere else. Neurosciences, especially the NCCU, is dear to my heart, and I will always remember and cherish the moments.
So I'm Adnan Qureshi. I'm actually a graduate from the Johns Hopkins Neurocritical Care Program. I was there from 96 to 98. And in fact, I was actually fellow at the same time as the current director, Dr. Jose Suarez. And I had a great experience at Johns Hopkins. It gave me the right platform to go forward. In fact, all of the work that in intracerebral hemorrhage actually started at Johns Hopkins University. And then I subsequently went on to train in intervention. And I used a lot of things that I learned in my years at Johns Hopkins to apply in a new field called neurointervention. So I'm truly blessed to be back here with many of my colleagues and truly honored.
Hi, I'm Henry Brehm. I'm the chief of neurosurgery, and I'm just honored to be able to give my deepest congratulations to the extraordinary talent of our colleagues in the neurocritical care unit. I think that our success is so much based on the extraordinary care and innovation that takes place every day, day in and day out, for every patient that we care for in the unit. I'm just so grateful to be part of the really greatness of that unit that takes place every day. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kira Becker, and I was in the NCCU class of 1993 to 1995 with Anish Bhardwaj and Jeff Ling, and what a fun time we had during those years. I left Hopkins to go to the NIH to do some research, and then out to the University of Washington, Harborview Medical Center, where I tried to get the neurocritical care unit up and running. And I just value the time I had at Hopkins so much, and I am so happy to be here and celebrate this 40th anniversary with all my friends.
Hi, my name is Terry Murray, and I was a patient at Johns Hopkins in 1984 when I was 19 years old. And I recently found out that this event was happening, and I just felt like I had to come. So I want to thank everybody for everything they do in creating this unit. It was just amazing looking back now as my older self. So thank you.
Hi, my name is Gail Biba, and I'm a nurse from the NCCU. I began working in the NCCU just a few weeks before it actually opened on its very first day in 1982. And I was there when the first patient actually came to the NCCU. I think what has brought me here today is the fact that I hope everybody can see the love and the joy that so many of us actually got to experience in our job. And I don't know how many people actually get to say that about their jobs. And I think the people made the work, which was very difficult work, much easier to do because everybody stuck together, everybody had a common mission, and everybody really had a deep compassion for the care of the neurologically ill patients. So that being said, I mentioned this earlier today when I was on the stage this morning. The work in my life has been one of awe for the work that has been done by those around me. And I've seen patients miraculously get better in ways that I could have never imagined. And I think the skill level of those around me and the knowledge and the very smart people I get to work with every day has made that part of my life a real joy. So thank you for everybody that made this event happen today. And it'll be something I'll remember for the rest of my life. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Panos Varelas. I'm the chair of the Department of Neurology at Albany Medical Center. And I did my neurocritical care fellowship here at the Johns Hopkins 98 to 2000. And it were probably some of the best years of my life, probably the hardest also, because it was a lot of work and a lot of learning. But what I have to say is, looking back to my training, I did my neurology residency at Yale, and I thought that was probably the best hospital at that time in the world. And as soon as I arrived at Hopkins and I did my neurocritical care at Hopkins, I knew that Hopkins was 2-3 levels better than Yale at that time. So it was amazing. I made many friends. It changed my career, in fact. And after I left, I created 4 ICUs, and I still actually use the Hopkins paradigm, the way we round and the way we manage the patients. So thank you for having us here, and happy 40 years.
Hi, I'm Betsy Zink. I'm the clinical nurse specialist in the NCCU, and I started in the NCCU in 1997. 40 years is an amazing accomplishment, and we can't wait to see where we go in the next 40 years.
Well, so, I can't believe it's been 40 years, but, I've only been there for 19. So, I came back a long time ago, and one of my first memories was I was actually there on the old unit over in Meyer when there was no patients in the unit for a good 6 hours. It's the only time we've ever been empty, and I still remember that day very well. I also remember the day that we moved over, and Mark and a variety of other people just got the unit up, and we switched over to Zayed, and then now we're back at Zayed. And the time has gone by very quickly, and I can remember working with Ski and then Gail for so long, and Mark. It's just, to me, it just seems like it was yesterday that I showed up. But obviously, it's not. Obviously, more species are now extinct than when I started. The dinosaurs were around at the beginning, and now there are none. So, but I can just say that it's been such a fantastic experience, and I was able to do what I always wanted, and that was to be able to make a huge impact on people who came and who were sick, and in a meaningful way. And this is one of the few places that I could really feel like I could do that. Over the years, the nurses have just been terrific. We have the best nurses around. We've built up a nurse practitioner program, and then our fellows are just, beyond exemplary. We're still the major force in neurocritical care training today. We're still, in my opinion, the best training unit there is. And it's just a pleasure to be with all these people.
All right. Well, I'm Pravin George. I'm one of the NCCU Fellows, class of 2014 to 2016. I was in the class with Shamir, Jarna, Kartavia, Kate Rosenblatt. One of the best classes I can remember. We so much to reflect on, so much to look at as far as the neuro ICU goes, but really set the foundation for how much I know in neuro and how much I respect the field of neurocritical care. The Hopkins has been a stalwart of knowledge and repertoire for the entire neurocritical care community throughout the world, and just the connections I've made as a result of being a fellow there, and the people I've met there has just been phenomenal. I still continue to think about the days back then, knowing the nurses, knowing the respiratory, physical therapists, writing papers until God knows when in the morning, and just having the most memorable time of my life. But I have to thank all of the physicians, the APPs, every single nurse that I've worked with, and all of the fellows and my co-fellows that have made countless memories with me.
I'm Karen, used to be Karen Davis, now I'm Karen Katie. I took my maiden name back during COVID. But I worked for you in 1989 for 5 years, and you were the reason that I went into nurse leadership, and I have my entire career was foundational because of what you said to me when I worked in the NCCU. And you have a way of mentoring people where you give them autonomy and you say, here, I want you to do this while I'm gone. And you just trust them and you put them in charge. And that's how I learned that I wanted to take my show on the road and get education and build teams like you did in the NCCU. So I am so grateful for the mentorship and um, just the relationship that we had when I was there. And one thing that I remember is that you always took someone with you, a clinical nurse, when you went to speak, and you were a national speaker. You went everywhere. And one day you said, "Oh, I have to go give this national talk, and I want you to come because I'm going to talk about shared governance and what we do in the model and how we run the NCCU." And I was like, "Oh no, I can't do that." She's like, "Yes, you can." And I went, and you were amazing, and you let me talk about the unit, and I was like, okay. And so because of you, I became a really comfortable public speaker because you taught me that skill. That you have to take what you do and you have to put it out there and let other people know what you're doing because we're doing something really unique and special and we have to share that with the world. And you taught me that, and I do that now all the time with everything that our nurses do and make sure that we're sharing that. Thank you.
And Karen is not going to mention this, so I will. She has gone on to have a phenomenal career in nursing leadership as the chief nursing executive for the University of Rochester Health System, where she manages over 5,000 nurses, 6 hospitals. So all of that came from Ski's mentorship and the learning experience we all had at Hopkins. So I'm John Ulatowski. I came to Hopkins in the late 80s. I was trained as a neurologist and was convinced by Mark Rogers to be an anesthesiologist, even though I came there to be a neurointensive care physician. And that started an amazing combination of career opportunities for me. The importance of what we experience in the neurocritical care unit was phenomenal. We have so many national and international leaders that came out of that program. And yes, it was hard work, but it was the learning experience of a collaborative team that made it happen. Some of the early experiences I had transitioned my career and allowed me to be a leader in many aspects. I went on to be chair of a department and then worked internationally, and all the lessons I learned were attributable to the wonderful collaborative team in the NCCU that started 40 years ago. Tremendous legacy, and there are many other examples of leaders in nursing and in medicine that came from that unit. Thank you very much for that opportunity. It was transformative in our personal lives, our professional lives, and taught us to be great leaders. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Julie MacArthur. I was one of the first nurses in the NCCU when it was a 4-bed unit in the Halstead building. I started there in 1983, and I was a nervous wreck because neurology was very frightening to me. Dr. Dan Hanley recruited me from the coronary care unit, and so I said, yeah, I'll come and try it. And I ended up loving it. And then Ski, who was our head nurse, she was just amazing and really, really had us work very, very hard. We always had to take exams every year to increase our knowledge about neurology and patient care of patients with neurological disorders and problems. And then the most frightening thing is she had the nurses present the patient to the doctors on rounds in the morning. That is not heard of in other parts of the hospital. And I was so nervous because my husband would be on the rounds and I would have to present in front of him and Dr. Hanley and all the other ones, and sometimes I would just be really nervous. I loved the experience and I really learned a lot about neurology, and I really think Ski was an amazing, amazing nurse, nurse manager and mentor.
And I'm Justin MacArthur. I'm the director of the Department of Neurology. Between the two of us, we've been at Hopkins for 76 years, if you can believe it. And my pleasure in life is because I get to take care of some of the patients who come out of the neurointensive care unit. So I get to follow them in clinic. I get to have them come back and see me a year, 5 years after they've been in the unit. And the amazing things that the neurocritical care unit does, from Cecil, Dan, and Ski, the principles that they've laid down, over 40 years ago, it's just amazing. And now, as you see represented here today, it's going to be 50 different units, all following the same foundational principles. So congratulations on your 40th.
I'm Donald Long,
And I'm Harriet Long.
and I was the director of neurosurgery from 1973 to 2000 for 27 years. I left Hopkins in retirement in 2010. My ties to the intensive care unit were that Guy McCann, Chip Moses, Tommy Tong, and I planned the intensive care unit, convinced the hospital to fund it, and then oversaw the construction of the first unit in the Adolph Meyer building, which opened in 1983. And then it took about a year to get the NCCU fully functional. But I was one of the original planners and one of the people who made it happen. I have to say that if I had to name the one driver who did the most to convince the hospital administration, it would be Hamilton Moses, Chip Moses, who was both vice chair of neurology and vice chair of neurosurgery at that time. Chip was indispensable in convincing the administration to let us do it.